Perfect. Let's call to order the Water and Sewer Commission meeting of June 7th, 2022. Anybody here for the Commissioners' Public Forum? All right, hearing none, moving on. Consent agenda, warrants and minutes, please.
Right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for review from the May 24th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
Great.
All right, moving on, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants for review and signature. Commissioner salaries, $375. Franklin Electric for the check ball assembly, $395.95. Veolia February emergency service, $270. Another Veolia March emergency service for $270. And then a Veolia MTA testing for December of 2021 for $184. Veolia MTA testing January 2022, $184. Veolia MTA testing February 2022, $184. Veolia MTA testing March 2022, $184. And then Veolia for the May 2022 monthly services, $56,000 and $56,050, excuse me. And then the Beta PWS service, February 1st through 25th, $5,018.75. The Beta PWS February 26th through April 1st, 2022, $34,738.80. The Town of Oxford, April 2022 electricity, $6,878.11. The Boston Globe processing of quarterly billing, $392.01. LaForte Electric, 131 Sunset, $150. And that leads to a total of $105,274.62.
Second.
Roll call vote, Peter.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
Motion
Moving on to
unanimous.
scheduled appointments. Vinnie, Veolia.
I believe Vinnie's on. If you want to take it, Vinnie.
I'll be covering the monthly operating report for April 2022. During the month of April, the plant was staffed by myself and Dylan Moriarty with a vacant grade 5 operator position. Health and safety, the monthly safety checklists were completed. Hand sanitizer, antibacterial wipes at all the key points in the plant. April 7th, we completed Veolia's monthly inspection report. Training, the month of April, was on confined spaces, and that is a OSHA annual course. Compliance for the month of April. There were several exceedances to report. The DMR was completed and entered into the CDX on April 14th. The DMR QA results were due in April. The in-house lab reported a pH measurement of 8.84. The sample that was given to us to measure on was reported at 8.80. So we were almost right on the money. The acceptable range was 8.6 to 9.0. The plant had 1 week where the Effluent had an extreme Effluent TSS of 9,000 milligrams per liter. I mean, that is just so much stuff coming into the plant. It's hard to comprehend. The BOD that week was 3,000 milligrams per liter. That's almost 3 times stronger than anything I've seen since I've been here. It's really huge numbers. So with that knowledge, we have the following violations. The Effluent TSS monthly average. We reported a 17.4 and our limit is 14. The Effluent TSS weekly average. We reported a 36 and our limit is 18. The Effluent TSS weekly average pounds. We reported 89.6 and our limit is 67 pounds per day. The effluent total phosphorus monthly average. We reported a 0.29. Our limit is a 0.11. Effluent copper daily max. We reported 29 micrograms, and our limit is 28 micrograms. So that one was pretty close. And we always have a little issue with copper in the spring, so that really wasn't anything out of the blue. The next one is effluent E. coli daily max. We reported a 2419, and our daily limit is a 409. With all of those exceedances, the plant still removed 96.9% of what came in the plant. So, I mean, we took out pretty much 97% of everything that came through the door. That's a really huge number. It was just the plant had so much coming in, we really couldn't handle it. Moving on to the operations and maintenance activities. Comag sludge pump number 3, which is the primary one we've been running for the past 2 years. The mechanical seal let go and it spilled sludge all over the floor. It was a pretty good time cleaning that up. To get another pump online, the valves that isolate that pump wouldn't move. They were seized in place, so we actually had to change all the valving before we could switch to another pump. But we got all them valves replaced and we're running on pump 2 now. Wooded and Kern was here until 8 p.m. on the 4th, working on the fix for the SCADA dialer system. And they did not end up getting it fixed that day, but it was a couple days later, they did get all the bugs worked out, and we haven't had an issue since. New pump was installed for the alkalinity analyzer, and we put that on a timer, so it only runs for about a half hour, 4 times a day, whereas we were just circulating constantly because that's what the manufacturer recommended. But the analyzer only grabs a sample every 4 hours, so we set the timer to kick on a little before it grabs it, and it'll shut off a little after. Working on dialing in Comag Train 1 solid separator drive. When they installed that separator drive shaft, the wipers were kind of digging into the bottom of the tank. So we got in there and made all the necessary adjustments so it could run. And we also had that new VFD installed and got that solid separator actually working without any issues. Secondary clarifying number 2, the scum baffle at the top of the water had a whole bunch of rust flaking off. So while it was empty, we got in there with some ladders and scraped all that rust off and got it out of there before it went in the drain. We don't need anything extra clogging those pipes up. The Headworks influence screen broke down. The auger drive unit, the bolt that holds it in broke, and the whole auger just kind of slid out. So we had to bypass it and run on the bar rack while we waited for a repair. LaFleur Electric came in. They replaced the ballasts and Headworks. They're explosion-proof light fixtures. So it was an electrician job to get those changed. While he was in there, he was working on staging, and he's looking down at the screener, and he noticed that the whips for the motor were pulling apart and all cracked and the wires were exposed. So we had him put new whips on there with new liquid tight coating. And we also had to make them longer. So now we can service that unit without them pulling apart again. LaFleur Electric also installed 2 more new VFDs in the Comag panel. And they also brought us 2 new spares, which you guys had approved to keep spares on the shelf. We ended up getting them from LaFleur because the Veolia supplier was several months out on their stock. The collection system activities, we installed a flow meter to monitor Vine Street pump station. We put it right on the lake side of the pump station. Pump station activities for the month, North Main Street, we had to pull a pump apart again and remove baby wipes. Good times. Sludge, we hauled 4 loads for the month to Cranston. Chemicals, we got 4 275-gallon totes of caustic. We got 1 3,500-gallon delivery of ferric chloride. and we got one skid, which is 2,700 pounds of soda ash. Grinder pump calls. April 1st, we went to 12 North Sturbridge Road. There was a lot of grease on the floats. We scraped it off and seemed to be good. Later that day, we had Slims come out and actually clean the grease out. And, after discussing it with Dylan, it was a lot. So we had Slims clean that one. On April 5th, we went to 59 North Sturbridge Road. And again, there was some grease. This one wasn't as bad, but we had Slims clean that too. Just because, the grease gets in there and it just goes right for the floats. They don't work well once you get a mass in there. On April 11th, we were called back to 59 North Sturbridge Road. And at that time, we realized the intrinsically safe module was intermittently working. So we swapped that out, tested it, and it was good. We haven't heard anything since then. On April 25th, we went to 45 Main Street. Pump was bad. However, the tank was in the basement and there was very little clearance above the tank to get the pump out. So I called in Slims to help me actually get the pump out of there. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. There's about 1.5 feet of clearance on top of the tank, and the tank was almost eye level with me. So trying to pull a 100-pound pump out of there was a little more difficult than I thought it would be. Dig safes, the month of April, there were 64 dig safe requests. And that concludes the MOR for April of 2022. Any questions?
Vinny, what do you contribute that high BOD to? Anything in particular?
To be honest, Dave, I don't know. It's not who we would normally think because of the TSS.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering.
Particles. Yeah, the TSS is particles in the water. So it's not beer. I don't know where it could have come from, but it's not beer.
Anybody else have anything? All right.
Just looking forward, Vinny, have you seen a continuation of that problem? Or was it isolated to April?
We do have one that looks like it's going to be about a 7,000 TSS coming back. And the plant's still not ironed out from April. Once this stuff gets in here, it just kind of floats around the whole plant, and it's really a process to get it out of the plant. So yeah, we're not over the bridge yet. We're also having some issues with E. coli. I actually have had to report another one today from the end of May. What's happening is the UVT, which is the amount of UV light that can get through the water, is really low. The issue is our water is pretty clear. So we should have great UVT, and for some reason it's not. So I've been in contact with Veolia's technical support. I've talked to Trojan, which is the manufacturer of the UV, several times. And they're working on getting a rep out here to just kind of get eyes on it and see if they can spot something we might be missing.
All right. Thank you, Vinny.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, moving on, Peter, to the 6:45 appointment.
All right, so Veolia and Wright Pierce worked together to do a treatment plan engineering evaluation. It is completed, and I've attached an executive summary of the report. The full report is about 92 pages, if you would like a copy of that. But again, part of your packet, I attached about a 3-page executive summary. Wright Pierce collected a large amount of data from Veolia and spent quite a bit of time learning how our treatment plant operates. They also reviewed the previous studies that we had completed. I feel they have a good understanding of where our facility is today and what it will take for us to be able to continue to grow our collection system and allow new users to connect. As you read through the executive summary, you'll see that we are collecting approximately 100% of our design loading, but only 50% of our design flow. The upgrades that are proposed will increase our treatment capacity by approximately 40%, which would be very, very beneficial as we look to allow future commercial expansion along Route 20. So the study focused mainly on 3 components. The first would be the Headworks upgrade. The second, smaller side to that would be updating and retrofitting our chemical feed and storage upgrade in the building. And the last part they looked at, probably the most expensive, is also the secondary process upgrade, which will help us treat the incoming flow so that we can be able to treat that additional 40% of loading. Priority wise, it seems like the Headworks upgrade would be priority 1, and also the chemical feed and storage area upgrade, because that's just a smaller component. So those 2 would probably be priority 1, with the secondary process upgrade being something that we can do. If we can't find funding to do it all at once, we can go ahead and do that secondary to the initial Headworks upgrade. So Hans Thunblom from Veolia is here, as well as Doug Hankins from Wright Pierce. If you gentlemen would like to add anything, or provide any other overview of the work you guys put in to do this report to give to the commission, the floor is yours. You're on mute, Hans.
Many times to reset that during this whole pandemic, you're on mute. Sorry about that. No, I don't really have, I think the report is, it's quite thorough. It's quite well done. The original intent of the project was to identify high priority capital improvements. So we spent quite a bit of time working with the operations personnel and Pete on the needs of the community, new businesses coming in, growth from new developments, new housing, that type of stuff, and it led us to those 3 areas where that Pete identified. Really the Headworks it's quite outdated. It's old. It just simply needs to be replaced. Same thing really with the chemical feed improvements, and like Peter mentioned, right now the plant is already, it already is operating at or sometimes slightly above design capacity, and there is definitely a high priority to upgrade the treatment capacity at the plant. So Doug, do you have anything else you want to add, or to open up to questions?
I guess the only thing I would like to add is actually to go back to a little bit of what Vinny said before. I don't have anything additional to add about the report other than Hans said, but I do want to really emphasize what Vinny said. The numbers that you're seeing at that facility in terms of how strong the wastewater is truly remarkable numbers. I mean, I've seen a lot of facilities and you have very, very strong wastewater, some of the highest I've ever seen. So kudos to Vinny for getting into work with those numbers already coming in.
So just to add a little bit more, when you look at the executive summary and the recommended improvements that are there, these are the final recommendations. If you were to look through the entire study, you'll see that for each component, such as the Headworks building, they probably had 6 or 7 alternates to look at, and the one that they recommended was kind of the best mix that took in cost and effectiveness to recommend. And when you look at the figures associated with these, I believe these are conservative, pre-engineered numbers. I think moving forward, if we were able to get some funding and move forward, we could possibly go into actual engineering, say the Headworks upgrade, and then put that out to bid to get the true cost of what it would be instead of an estimate based on kind of where the whole construction, where that all goes in the next year or 2. So for now, again, in working with Vinny and working with Veolia and Wright Pierce, I think we have a good direction to move forward for possible improvements to the treatment plant. Again, with the Headworks building, because of its age, that Headworks building is original to the original treatment plant that was installed back in 95, which was only a portion of what we currently have now. It was never improved. This upgrade would give us not only redundancy, but newer equipment that is supported now with parts. The equipment that's there now, we have to go ahead and if something goes down, we have to go and bypass it through the bar rack, which again, when you look at the high levels of TSS and everything else coming in, that doesn't give us any sort of pre-treatment and just lets everything pretty much except for the larger debris flow right through the treatment plant. So I think an upgrade, the Headworks building, again, with the chemical feed is definitely priority one and something that we should look at doing now. As far as next step go, as I stated in my memo, if the commission is in agreement with what's been presented here as, to a direction to move forward, I will go ahead and start, trying to find funding and grants to go ahead and fund these projects and bring that back to you to kind of be able to move them forward to the next step. We are scheduled on the Board of Selectmen's meeting next week to get in front of them and discuss these results so we can ask them for a future, for more of the ARPA funds that they had previously verbally committed to us. So now that we actually have this plan done with actual upgrades that we can apply those funds to, I'd like to go ahead and get back in front of them and have the formal ask and ask them to commit a certain dollar amount towards the Headworks upgrade. So we know that.
Sounds good, Pete.
Figures there. So if you guys are in agreement with the process, then that's great. If you have any follow-up questions about what was recommended and why, like I said, Hans is here and so is Doug. Doug was involved quite a bit with all the iterations and all the design and redesign, and Hans was as well, as far as fine tuning, your initial iteration of what an upgrade would look like, and then talking about what works and what doesn't, and finally coming up with, this proposed upgrade that's in front of you tonight.
Yeah, and Pete, if I can, we did spend quite a bit of time, looking at the current flows and loads and, the projected flows and loads. And then also, there were several alternates that were evaluated, and, our focus was on, the best net present value, overall operating costs and, everything with the treatment process upgrades. And I would like to, acknowledge, I think Ray Pierce came up with a quite an innovative layout for the Headworks where, with the redundancy, being able to get redundancy in the existing channel. So you would actually have two screening devices in there. I know Vinny was, he was very, very happy to see that, that layout with that. So, we did, together with, Pete, we spent quite a bit of time looking at the costs, and, we do feel, confident in those numbers right now.
The other thing about this upgrade, if we were to do all three components, is it currently fits on our existing footprint. We wouldn't have to go ahead and purchase more land off to the side. So, for those of you who've been up here and have walked outside and where the fenced in area is, we can go ahead and make all this happen in our current footprint, which makes it much easier to attain.
And it is laid out so that it's also easily expandable, and in 20 years or 40 years, if the loads increase, it is relatively easy to expand the recommended improvements.
So again, just maybe going a little bit more depth with the Headworks upgrade, because that is priority one. Right now, that's just a single channel coming in, and during high flows, the meter there maxes out at 800,000 gallons per day. I'm not sure what the actual flow per minute is, where that maxes out, but the proposal would be to reuse that building and upgrade it to have 2 channels on either side. So one, each channel can handle the high flows that we see during rain events or whenever those happen to come in, but also have redundancy. So that way there, if something does go wrong, we still have another channel that can work and provide the same type of pre-treatment through the Headworks building. So I think it would be very beneficial operational wise. And I'm hoping again to try and get creative with some funding and try and come back to you in the next meeting or two with some options to be able to fund that portion of the upgrade sooner than later, so we don't just sit on this report. But
Well, go Jerry Maguire it up, Pete.
show me the money. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your work.
Fair enough.
and
Yes, thank you.
Getting this together for us. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll have questions in the future.
Well, we're here anytime you need us. So just Vinny is there. Obviously we would start with Vinny, or if you need to reach out to me. Both Pete and Vinny know how to get a hold of me. So.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you,
Thank
thank
you,
you, gentlemen.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
I think we lost Dave here. So moving on, Pete, 106 Glen Echo Shore Drive, grinder pump.
Yes, so the grinder pump for 106 Glen Echo Shore Drive was installed directly on the property line between 110 and 106. And the property owner at 110 would like to install a fence between the 2 properties, which would go right over the grinder pump. Because we installed the grinder pump as part of the phase 2 sewer line, unfortunately, it's our responsibility, I think, to move it. I did get a couple of quotes to do so. So that grinder pump really only needs to be moved probably 5 feet. Again, these are lake lots, so there's not a lot of room between the property line and the houses. But if we were to just leave it as is and let them put the fence over the grinder pump, it would make it very difficult to service in the future.
Sure.
So to move the grinder pump over approximately 6 to 8 feet, I reached out to 3 people and got 2 bids back. One was for $7,400 and the other was for $6,900. So unfortunately, with Dave not being off the meeting, I don't think I need, because it's under $10,000, I don't think I need a formal vote. It just has to be sound business practices, and I have 2 quotes with a third non-submittal, so we should be good there. As long as you 2 guys don't see an issue or think that we shouldn't move the grinder pump, I'll just move forward with getting that moved, getting it on the correct piece of property, and getting this cleaned up kind of once and for all, so we don't have to just deal with it over and over again.
Sounds good. Let's get it done.
I agree.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, move it.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Wonderful. All right. Motion to adjourn.
And I'll second that.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. There's still 2 of you here. Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mr. Jennings.
Aye.
All right. Fair
All
enough.
right.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Very
good night.
good. Take care.
I'm going.
Bye.